We learn that to protect human from dangers of the nature, a country by the name of the Blue Moon was established. We also learn that the king of the Blue Moon was a very wise, gifted, and nice person who was loved by everyone. The people of the Blue Moon enjoyed his rule over the country, and it was a very prosperous period overall. However, good things can't last forever, and so a rebellion started within the insides of the nation, which resulted in a coup which saw the assassination of the king. This in turn turned everything good about the nation to bad things, as the whole nation went into a state of war, filled with hatred to destroy one another. This resulted in the nation being burnt down and damaged. Countless amounts of people lost their lives due to this incident, and many lives were disgruntled and left dysfunctional due to the cruel events that were occurring. However, it all came to an end when one man, donning a red mask which covers his face, came forth and finished off the rebel forces leader by himself. This man was then seen as a vigilante of sorts for the people of the Blue Moon, and he was named Red Man by the masses. We then see that this story was being told by a teacher at a school. He tells the kids that all this had happened 100 years ago and is an integral part of their history and who they are today. One of the girls gets up and lets her curiosity out by asking that if it had happened so long ago, then why do the kids have to live in the slums and not in a better place like the nation of Blue Moon? One of her classmates tells her that it is because they are the villains of this story. The teacher, with great responsibility, then tells the kids that they might already know, but they're the direct descendants of the rebels who had brought unhappiness and hatred to the nation of the Blue Moon. However, he tells them that the 9 of them are not to be blamed for anything that their ancestors had done, and that with their heavy pasts now known to them, they should strive to be better people themselves. And thus concluded the class for the day, and on they went to have lunch and help Mr. Kim. We then see that at the forest nearby the school the kids study in, Mr. Kim is taking out vegetables to eat during a very sunny time of the day. The kids and the teacher from before go out there to help Mr. Kim with his work, and thus makes him very happy. Later onwards, we see one of the kids named Ha Jin seeing that they've got beans to eat for lunch once again, and is not very pleased about that as he doesn't really like beans. The girl sitting beside him tells him to just eat it, but Ha Jin doesn't listen and instead throws away the beans. This angers his classmates as they tell him that he can't throw food away and can't be so picky with food all the time. Ha Jin is annoyed by this and tells them to shut up, but Mr. Kim gets to know of this and tells Ha Jin that he shouldn't throw away food. One of the kids says that he knows why they shouldn't throw food away. It's because the people of the slum pass away due to starvation almost every day, and the school kids get provided with free food every day, so they shouldn't disrespect that privilege. Mr. Kim is a bit unsettled by this very realistic answer from the little kid, but he tells him that it's true. However, besides that, the kids should eat everything to grow properly. We then see one of the other kids, Heek Baek Seon, picking up the food that was thrown on the ground and start eating it. Mr. Kim tells him that it's not nice to eat food from the floor, but he eats it anyway as Mr. Kim told him to eat everything. We then learn about Mr. Kim, the elementary school teacher with a peculiar name. We get to learn that the school is the only one of the slum, and that it's a school in name but more akin to an orphanage in reality. The school consists of the 9 kids, Mr. Kim and the principal, and they are all very closely knitted together. We then see the kids playing a game where one of the kids, Tae Shin, is playing the role of the legendary hero Redman. However, one of his fellow classmates is mad about this and tells him that it's unfair that he gets to play the main hero all the time, and says that she wants a chance to play the hero as well. Tae Shin insists that he should play the hero, as he is the fastest, but Mr. Kim comes to the scene and takes off the mask from Tae Shin. He tells him that he shouldn't be doing these things all the time. Tae Shin tells Mr. Kim that he was just playing a game. Mr. Kim tells him that it's cool to play sometimes, but it's not good to do it all the time and take stuff from other resources to do so. He then tells Maru, who is studying in the classroom, to tell the kids to go play football in the playground, but Maru says he doesn't want to tell them that. However, Mr. Kim sends Maru and the other kids to go play football in the school playground anyway. Mr. Kim then realizes that he needs to return the mask to where it was, but he then takes a good look at the mask. As he looks at that red mask, he starts feeling weird and uncomfortable, and just then the principal arrives, to whom Mr. Kim returns the mask to. Mr. Kim then says that he has no idea as to why Tae Shin would go and take that sinister mask to play with time and time again. The principal is a bit weirded out by this and asks Mr. Kim why he thinks the mask is sinister. Mr. Kim then apologizes to the principal as the mask means a lot to the principal, and he considers it a precious object. However, There's something about the mask that makes him feel off. Just holding it and looking at it makes him feel outrage within himself. The principal is taken aback by this answer, but he quickly comes back to his senses and laughs it off, saying that he finds it weird that Mr. Kim feels that way as he doesn't know what it feels like to be outraged. They then later to go take out the clothes as the weather looks a bit rainy. We then see the principal and Mr. Kim taking out the clothes as the kids are playing. The principal informs Mr. Kim that there is a rumor going on in the area. A rumor that states that men in suits are coming to the place and taking away kids from the R with them. The principal tells Mr. Kim that it might seem like no one cares about the slums, but they should still keep their eyes open at all times for these things. Mr. Kim agrees. We then see Ha-jin hitting a powerful curving shot to score against Maru, who is the keeper. However, the shot is too powerful and goes over the bar and out of play. The blonde girl makes fun of Ha-jin's bad technique. Meanwhile, Tae-shin decides to go and bring back the ball for them, which is now near the school entrance door. However, upon going there, we see that a car has come to the school door. Later on, we see that the rain is pouring down hard and that Mr. Kim and the principal are bringing back the clothes inside with the help of one of the kids, Soyeon. They thank her for holding out the candle in a dark hallway and thank her for always being helpful. Soyeon tells them to not mention it when they hear a loud call out from Tae-shin. Tae-shin has tons of dirt and scratches on his entire body. Mr. Kim asks Tae-shin if he fell down while playing football, but Tae-shin tells them that the creepy men came and took all of the kids with them. The teachers wonder if they're the rumored kidnappers. But then a very creepy and scary-looking old man comes in and says that it's not a kidnapping. He introduces himself as Dr. Nogel and says that they're taking the kids for experiment in the nation of Blue Moon. He says that he is glad that they found as many as 9 kids in this remote place and that he would laugh if it weren't for him lacking eyelids and lips. Everyone is dumbfounded from hearing this, and then a group of men also enter the scene and they tell the teachers that they're here to take all the children from here and they will do so at all costs. Whether it's kidnapping or not is none of their concerns. The principal then tells Mr. Kim to run away with Tae-shin and Soyeon and protect them at all costs while he stands firm and squares up against the goons. One of the suit-clad men steps forward and he shoots the principal in the chest. He says that by the looks, it seemed like the principal could fight, however, he stands no chance in front of him and his gun. The person then further goes on to shoot Mr. Kim and he takes out both the teachers. Tae-shin and Soyeon are traumatized and are left crying from seeing their teachers bleed out and lie there motionless. The goons then come ahead and take Tae-shin and Soyeon by force and leave in their cars. Meanwhile, we see that Mr. Kim has a slight sense of consciousness back into his body. He thinks about how it feels unreal that they got dragged on to the rumors they had heard. After all, it felt like no one comes to the school besides them. It was a safe haven for both him and the kids, who had nowhere to go after the war that destroyed the slums. However, all of it is now taken away. Mr. Kim speaks out faintly and says it is a nightmare. However, then we see the principal speak up as well. He says that it's not a nightmare but the reality. He says that he wanted to protect the kids at all costs, but he is a pathetic person who failed at doing so. He then brings out the red man mask from his jumper and puts it on Mr. Kim's face. He then says that he wants Mr. Kim to protect the kids from now on before collapsing. Then, we get to see the docile eyes of Mr. Kim peeking out from the mask. It soon gets filled by more and more anger and rage until he growls in anger and gets up. We then see the 2 guys who are riding the truck with the kids inside. They whine and complain about how it's horrible that they have to move separately from the rest of the group, but it was something done so that they could avoid suspicion on the road. However, it's still annoying to them. As they're done with the break and are about to go ahead again, one of the guys says that he wants to smoke a cigarette before going. This annoys the driver, who talks about how the smokers disturb everything for normal people and that no one should have invented cigarettes. However, just then a huge man comes forward and the driver hears a scream from his partner. He looks outside to see a monster of a man, wearing the red man mask, has smashed the head of his partner to the truck and left him finished off for good. He can't believe it and gets scared and tries to run away with the truck. However, the red man then grabs the truck and stops it with his bare hands and then picks it up, before yelling out in anger, asking how dare they took his kids away from them. It's Mr. Kim, who has gained supernatural powers after donning the mask, and he slams down the truck with his hands only. After that, one of the kids manages to get out of the truck. He hurt his head from the truck getting slammed, but he soon notices that Red Man is holding the driver by his neck. The driver struggles and tries to shoot Mr. Kim, but it's of no use. The driver then asks him just who he is, to which Mr. Kim loads up a punch and says that he is Redline. Redline then hits a devastating punch to the driver, finishing him off as well. Later on, we see a speech being given by the higher-ups of the nation of the Blue Moon to the people of the slum. The person says that all people are not equal and that distinctions exist from birth. He goes on to say that they, the noble-blooded people, are the blue, while them, the filthy-blooded slum dogs, are in the red. He tells the people in the red to always remember this distinction. At the school, we then see Redline, Mr. Kim, trying his level best to take off the red mask from his head, but to no avail. He can't quite comprehend how to take it off. He is pulling on it hard, but it seems like his full head would get taken off before the mask would come out of his head. He is raging and throwing stuff around because of the mask's effect. The kid that got out of the truck is scared and is hiding under a table. He asks Mr. Kim if he is Redman now, and this angers Mr. Kim, who throws away the table from top of his head and yells at him, saying that what part of him looks like the hero Redman. He is more like a monster than a hero at this point. The kid is scared by the aggressive behavior and tells Mr. Kim that. However, the rage is taking over and Mr. Kim yells at the kid, saying that he should speak up clearly than talking like a wimp. Mr. Kim soon realizes what he had done and bangs his head down the floor to apologize to the kid, saying that he should never yell at his kids despite whatever problem he is going through, and asks the kid for some time to fix the issue. We then see Mr. Kim, still in his Redman mask, at the forest from earlier, where he had dug a grave and buried the body of the principal. Mr. Kim then sits there near the grave and wonders just who the principal really was and why he was in possession of such a demonically powerful mask. Mr. Kim then goes into flashback. We then see a young Mr. Kim being beaten down to a pulp by some thugs. They tell Mr. Kim that they had warned him that they would finish him off if he showed up in front of them again. They'd finish him off, and that's what they were doing. After a while, they finish beating him up because he doesn't react to the hits like they would have wanted him to, and leave. Then we see the principal approach the beaten down Mr. Kim and ask him how will a weak man such as him survive in this cruel and nasty world, to which Mr. Kim says that he doesn't want to live in a world that treats him this way. The principal then tells Mr. Kim that there is a place where someone like Mr. Kim can live safely and peacefully. Then we see that the principal had brought Mr. Kim to the school, where he is a bit tensed out as he doesn't know why he has been brought here and suddenly been made a teacher. The principal explains that this is the best fit place for him and that it would be weird for him to make an adult man an elementary school student. Mr. Kim was against the idea, but he soon warmed up to the role and thrived as an elementary school teacher. Later on, Mr. Kim once asked the principal why had he chosen him as a teacher when there are people worse off than him in the slums. To which the principal replies by saying that Mr. Kim was the weakest person he had seen. That's why. He says that the moment he saw Mr. Kim's eyes, he could tell that he is a foolish person but a person correct for the job, and his time as a teacher up to that point was proof. He never saw the kids as a lower entity to himself. Instead, he saw them as equals and always treated them as his match, and that's why the principal believes in Mr. Kim, that he will be the one entrusted with the reins of the school if something happens to the principal. Then we come back to present time, where we see that in the classroom, the kid named Soyeon is crying and telling Mr. Kim to not go anywhere outside as it's very dangerous. Mr. Kim, despite being in that devilish mask, still pats and confirms the kid, saying that he doesn't want to go, but he has to go out there and save the other kids, so he has no other choice but to go there. We then see the slums, where everything is dull and dirty. There we see a random man getting scared to an inch of his life upon seeing Mr. Kim in his Redline form. He can't believe what was in front of him when Mr. Kim asks the man if he had seen a truck pass by the slum yesterday. The man, still scared, says he hadn't seen anything like that. Mr. Kim is worried as he doesn't know just where else this truck could have gone from. Meanwhile, everyone who sees him is weirded out by the sheer size and wonders if it's a demon. However, as he walks through the slum, he remembers that Dr. Nogel had told them that they were doing this kidnapping job to test out child prodigy, and this was done by the order of the nation of Blue Moon, and this makes Mr. Kim understand that the Blue Moon people are involved, and he vows to teach them a lesson and decides to go there. At the border between the slums and the nation of the Blue Moon, we see 3 guards standing and they check a report that says that one of the trucks from the gourmet section that went to the slums haven't returned yet. This makes one of the guards snap, as he doesn't understand why there were trucks sent to the slums to give them food to eat. According to him, Slum people are vile and don't deserve to eat their food. He states that someone from the slums must have taken over the truck as a reason as to why slum people shouldn't be trusted or cared for. As the guards are talking about these things, they see the large figure of Mr. Kim coming through at them. One of the guards call out Mr. Kim and says that there is no further sightseeing for a slum dog and tells him to stop right there. The guard then squares up to Mr. Kim and asks him just why is he here at the border of the Blue Moon. And Mr. Kim says that he is there in search of a white truck. The guard is a bit shocked after hearing this, and Mr. Kim takes advantage of that by snatching away the report paper from his hands. Mr. Kim reads the report and finds out that there was a truck sent from the gourmet section office and decides to go there to find out about further information. However, the guard tells him to give back the paper he took from him, and Mr. Kim obliges by shoving the paper into the guard's face and then driving the guard's head down to the ground to finish him off. Mr. Kim then says that whoever takes him to the gourmet section will be let to live, but one of the guards starts shooting at him. However, this doesn't affect Mr. Kim in his current state, as he simply slaps the man so hard that he goes and hits against the wall, getting stuck inside the broken ends. This scares the remaining guard, who says that he will take him to wherever he wants to go. However, he states the wall is a problem behind why he can't take him there right now, because the wall is huge and it only opens from the inside, and that won't be opening until the night. He says this to buy enough time and inform the higher-ups about this monster. However, Mr. Kim doesn't want to wait, and he grabs the guard and jumps up by stepping on parts of the wall as a platform to get to the top, from where we can see the landscape of the nation of the Blue Moon. There, Mr. Kim asks the guard about where the gourmet section office really is. We then get to learn of some more history, as we get to know that about 100 years ago, when the rebellion failed to achieve its goal, the people of the rebellion had suffered by living a worse life from there on onwards. They didn't have the food and resources to live a normal life, and their unity, which they gathered over the rebellion campaign, went to vain as they had to fight for whatever leftover food that was thrown to them. This totally divided them, and they were divided into streets for future generations ahead, one being the Slum Street, the other three being the Red Light Street, the Fashion Street, and the Graveyard Street, and so on. Meanwhile, those who fought against that rebellion gained hero status and had a cult built found them. They became the untouchable elites of the society and was given the opportunity to run all the huge businesses and companies from there onwards, thus founding the main part of the nation of the Blue Moon, the Blue Moon City, known for its wealth and prosperity. We then see Mr. Kim walking on the roads of the Blue Moon City, talking to the guard. Mr. Kim says that he doesn't understand the wealth and prosperity part of the description, as this town looks like it's still ravaged by that civil war and has nothing good about it. Mr. Kim says that he heard that the buildings in the Blue Moon City were coated in gold, such as their wealth and capabilities. The guard says that it sounds like a fairy tale. However, he says that the city is divided into three. Part 1 being the wall that surrounds the area of the wall, Part 2 being the ruins where everything is burnt down and damaged, and last being the downtown part, the actual part with the wealth and prosperity. The guard tells him who the ruins weren't developed because the ruins are the area close to the outer areas. Some corporations like the gourmet section exist in this part of the area, but most big buildings have already been destroyed here. The guard wonders that this is the biggest problem here, as no one will come and save him from here. The guard then plans on somehow misguiding Mr. Kim until they reach the downtown where he can get help for himself. The guard tells Mr. Kim to go straight and turn right, but upon listening to his directions, they run into a random girl on the street. This angers Mr. Kim, as he can't believe that the guard has done that. He asks the guard if he thinks he is a joke because he talked with him a little, and so he lightly chokes him out a little, and the guard also apologizes constantly, vowing to never repeat the mistake again. Mr. Kim then looks at the girl who had seen them and asks her who she is. The girl introduces herself as Panda, a high school teacher at the Fashion Street. Mr. Kim is a bit taken aback after hearing this. The woman guesses that he is from the slums from his clothes and asks if he doesn't know about Fashion Street. She says she understands if he doesn't, as Slum Street is a long way away from the Slum Street. She says that the Fashion Street is managed by the Finger Chain Company, which is a clothing company. The girl then asks Mr. Kim about himself, to which Mr. Kim answers by saying that he is an elementary school teacher at the forest in the slums. Panda is happy hearing this and is glad that they both have the same job and are both going to the same place, so she invites Mr. Kim to join her to go together to where they were going. Mr. Kim says that she is free to do whatever she wants. On the other hand, The guard is scared as heck because there is now another extra outsider inside the Blue Moon City, and just having one person pass the gate will end up getting the gatekeeper a life sentence. On the other hand, we see a girl confined in a room. She is all tied up and has her mouth taped. We learn that the girl was kidnapped on her usual walk back from school alongside her sister, and now they're both caught up. Then a scary bald man enters the room and the girl gets all tense. The man gets inside and then carries a few bodies which are bandaged up. One of the bodies fall down in front of the girl and she sees it and gets scared before the guy picks up the body and leaves. The girl then understands that there are more people who have been caught up in this incident, and some of them are in the room with her. However, they're not alive and their bodies are bandaged up. Then a random man shows up to the room and asks the girl if her name is Rai and tells her that he has come to save her from here and take her to a safe place. The girl sees the logo on his shirt and understands that it is someone from the Finger Chain Company, and understands that he was sent by the Fashion Street. The man goes to untie her. However, the girl is uncomfortable and is making lots of noises. The man is annoyed by this and tells her that they might get caught if she makes too much noise. Right then, a head that's hanging on a long rope-like neck comes into the room. It's really creepy. The head says that it smells the scent of a stranger man. The man gets out his knife and prepares to fight this monster. The monster is also ready. Part of it opens up to reveal a monstrous mouth which is ready to eat the guy alive. We then see that Mr. Kim and Panda have arrived to the Gourmet Section Company alongside the guard. The guard tells them that they've arrived where they wanted, and the two get inside. The people at the store welcome them with open arms and tell them about everything they offer and how they'll be expanding even more soon. The store worker then asks Panda if they were new customers or regular members of their shop, to which they're told that she and Mr. Kim are first-time customers. The store worker then tells them that they don't sell to new customers on Mondays, as that day is just reserved for the regular members, so they ask them to come back the day after. However, two other workers ask the store worker guy to let them buy something as they've made their way in anyway. The guy reluctantly agrees to let them buy something despite it being against the rules. Panda is then asked what she's looking for, to which Panda normally answers that she is looking for some human meat. The guard takes this normally until he realizes what Panda had said and tells her that there's no way that they sell something so horrible at this place. Mr. Kim also wonders if they're bringing in the kids to sell their meat to feed cannibals. The store worker then tells them that they indeed sell human flesh. However, his facial expressions, alongside everyone else's, quickly changes to a pissed-off one as he tells her that people who buy human flesh don't call it that. He also says that the weird clothing they're wearing already made them suspicious of these guys. The store workers all gather up in order to finish off Panda and Mr. Kim. However, the confirmation of cannibalism brings out a whole different level of rage inside of Mr. Kim, whose clothes tear off from his body and mask starts breaking off from his face. He gets very angry and tells the store workers that cannibalism doesn't even happen in the rotten and hungry slums, so why is it happening here? He then yells out in anger, asking what they did to his kids. As his mask breaks, we can see most of Mr. Kim's face, and he is very pissed about how things are going now. However, Panda tells Mr. Kim that it's okay because as far as she knows, they don't use kids as young as the ones in elementary school for cannibalism. However, they do use kids in their late teens for cannibalism, so she is in a bit of hurry for her own business. The guard wonders if Panda is really in a hurry because she doesn't look like she is from her very calm demeanor. Knowing this information somewhat calms down the immense level of rage within Mr. Kim, and the portion of his mask which had broken off also comes back in place and settles back to where it was, which makes Panda wonder if Mr. Kim's level of angriness has something to do with how the mask operates. Mr. Kim then speaks up and says that while they might not take the kids for cannibalism, they are probably the ones behind kidnapping them, and he needs to save the kids from them because the kids are probably scared for their lives and are praying for someone to come and save them from this rotten place. The manager of the Gourmet Section store tells that he understands that Mr. Kim is related to the kids who were recently kidnapped. However, he has no idea how lowly people such as them made it to this area, but he lets them know that, unfortunately, they won't be returning any of the assets that they took from them, and orders the plethora of store workers to go ahead and attack the monster that is Mr. Kim in his redline form. They go ahead and try to attack him with knives and other butchering accessories, but Mr. Kim doesn't fear anything in his redline form, so he delivers a massive uppercut of sorts which sends a lot of men flying into the sky at once with just the sheer force. The store workers realize that this is a monster among men and decide to team up all at once to attack him. They all team up and try to stab him with their knives and even feel like they're successful until they realize that Mr. Kim is not bleeding. Mr. Kim then starts growing weird but strong red strands out of his body which also take out the knives and other weapons. Not even a bullet could penetrate the man, so what would these things do? Mr. Kim then delivers a massive punch again which finishes of a bit majority of people at once. His power is unmatchable. Meanwhile, Panda decides to join the fight and help out Mr. Kim with the cleanup. She also asks the guard to do so as well, but the guard is reluctant. The guard doesn't know if he should be supporting people who has invaded his city, but he also doesn't want to help criminals like the ones who are running the gourmet shop as of now. Panda jumps into the fight and she is quickly attacked by a man with a long steel pipe, but she manages to swiftly dodge the shot of the steel pipe and uses the sideward's momentum to do a spin and add a jump alongside it to land a jumping spinning hook kick to break the man's nose. The man gets mad and tries to retaliate, but he is shut down super quick as Panda uses her briefcase to hit his head and knocks out the man for good. The guard is shocked about this and he can't help himself but praise the brilliance of Panda and tells her that she is a great fighter. Panda says that she learnt it as you never know when you gotta get physical in the street. And she also says that a teacher needs to be strong enough to protect her students and tries to fight more before she sees that there are too many guys coming for her to handle, so she decides to run away to the surprise of the guard. On the other side, we see that in a luxury restaurant, a group of people are there and eating peacefully. The food is provided by the gourmet section. We learn that this is a test run for some huge guest who is coming. The chef gives the main taster the main course of food with extra new sauce developed by them especially for the occasion. The main taster has it and he hates it for how basic and boring it tastes and can't believe that they have such a bad food scene in control. The chef tries to explain things, but they're not going to take that and the taster is angry, even targeting the girl who they bought in not too long ago and asking what she learned. The main taster is none other than the chairman of the main party, OL, and he is mad about all these things. The chef tells that all the problems of the bad food could be attributed to bad ingredients and meat which came from out of the city, but OL says that it doesn't matter which meat is being used. However, he is more focused on the show that will occur later in the day and tells everyone to prepare the young blonde girl they had gotten. Meanwhile, back to the fight, we see that it's literally raining humans as anyone Mr. Kim touches and hits goes up in the sky ridiculously. Meanwhile, the rest are all down and out. Panda and the guard are both impressed. Then Mr. Kim brutally finishes off the store manager and sits there where Panda comes in and praises him for his fighting and tells him that he doesn't need to worry about not having asked the store manager about where the kids might be, as Panda herself knows where the kids are at thanks to a special patch they had developed in the fashion street, and so they get ready to go there. Back in the restaurant, but we see that the blonde girl has been brought for the auction and random people are trying to buy her body parts to them. This disgusts the girl as she doesn't understand why a fellow human would do this, but it was happening nonetheless. We learn that they sell every part except for inner organs, and then these stuff is made in their restaurant afterwards for a secretive and enjoyable recipe. Then we see that the girl has been sold, and no part remains of her. Now they've sent the butcher to do a live show in taking her out. However, as the butcher comes forward, a superhero breaks down from the floor above to take out the guy. All-out fight has started now. The girl also gets shocked as she looks up to see that Redman himself has come to save her. The blonde girl then realizes that Redman is more like a fairy tale character at this point and someone who most likely existed about 100 years ago, so no way that he is still alive and kicking in today's age. As people in the restaurant are all stunned and at a loss for words for what happened, we see that Mr. Kim is angry and raging because he can't find his children here, and he calls out Panda asking why the kids aren't there. Panda says that she has no idea as to why they aren't there, as the location tracked by the patch did say that the people were here. It is then that Panda spots the blonde girl Rai and calls out to her as she's one of her students. She quickly scoots over to her and instead of consoling her or asking something important, Panda cracks a joke asking if her trip to the city has gone well. She does, however, untape her mouth and embrace in a happy moment. However, Mr. Kim is getting more and more angry as he hasn't found his children yet. Panda apologizes for giving him the wrong info, but she had no idea that his kids were being kept at a different location. OL is however unimpressed by how all the things have gone and starts scolding the ones who decided to bring a girl from the fashion street, as the people from that side in particular are known to be very problematic. Panda informs Mr. Kim that OL is the chairman of the gourmet section, and Mr. Kim understands that capturing him will get him a clue as to where his kids are. OL listens to this and laughs it off though, saying that even the people of the Blue Moon City can't look him in the eyes, let alone do something else, so when a random nobody like Mr. Kim thinks about capturing him is funny to him. He further goes on to add that if Mr. Kim really desires to meet him, then he should get a proper appointment first. After that, Ohio orders all the bodyguards, who are all wielding weapons of different kinds, to attack Mr. Kim, and they take his orders right away and rush on to attack Mr. Kim. They all attack him at once, and it seemed like they get the job done, as even Ohio is convinced that they've done it. However, it is not long before that we see that all of the guards have dropped down and are a bloody mess with their weapons broken, and one of the bodyguards specifically in Mr. Kim's grip as he finishes him off and says that he will get the appointment at Ohio's funeral and starts moving forward towards him. Ohio is surprised how Mr. Kim ran through all of his bodyguards at once, and so he orders his trusty twin assassins to go and attack Mr. Kim. They willfully do so. The twins run towards Mr. Kim with both their fists up to punch him, but Mr. Kim meets them both with fists of his own, and the collision with Mr. Kim's fists absolutely shatters every last bone of their hands and even goes on to take them out with the sheer impact. Now, with all of his trusty men out, Ohio says that it's not funny how Mr. Kim is beating up all of his guards like it's nothing. The twins were his best men, and he did them like they were a bunch of baboons. Mr. Kim goes up to Ohio and grabs him by the throat and picks him up, and then asks the chairman of the gourmet section what happened to his children and where are they. Ohio quickly points at Rai, saying that there's a child there. However, Mr. Kim specifies that she's not the one he is talking about and says that his children are the ones who were kidnapped from the slum school. Ohio smirks, saying that he didn't understand how the kids from the slum were so pretty and well taken care of, but now it makes sense because someone like Mr. Kim was looking after them. He, however, tells him that there's no hope for him to meet them and that they're not here. Mr. Kim is mad and he asks for a proper explanation to what Ohio is saying. However, just then Rai tells Mr. Kim to watch out when Ohio orders the butcherer, who he calls the woodcutter, to butcher Mr. Kim. The woodcutter goes ahead and uses his huge blade to cut Mr. Kim into two while he had his attention set to Ohio. Ohio then talks sarcastically as one half of Mr. Kim's body is still holding onto him while the other falls on the ground. Ohio says that the kids from the elementary school were taken in by people of much higher status than his own, and that they're taken in by the Blue Moon City to do experimentations as they don't possess any backgrounds and can be used however they want. This is when, out of nowhere, the two parts that were cut of Mr. Kim start connecting again as the monster of a man starts regenerating. It surprises everyone from Panda and Rai to Ohio himself, who can't believe that Mr. Kim is able to regenerate after being cut into two. Mr. Kim starts saying that if his kids aren't here, he has no reason to let Ohio live. Woodcutter is once again ordered to cut Mr. Kim, and he does so by cutting off the arm that was holding on to Ohio's neck, but Mr. Kim almost immediately grows a new arm like it's nothing. Woodcutter then growls loudly at Mr. Kim to intimidate him, but Mr. Kim, now so raged up that his mask breaks again, yells back at Woodcutter again, and this is louder than anything ever before, and it almost deafens Rai and Panda. Woodcutter ends up getting intimidated by this and now is in no mood to engage with the much superior Mr. Kim. Ohio sees this and, as a last-ditch effort, riles up Woodcutter with his words, telling Woodcutter that a monster such as him shouldn't fear anyone and that he shouldn't chicken out during battle and should take the opponent head-on. This fires up Woodcutter, who runs towards Mr. Kim and lands a seriously powerful punch to the face of Mr. Kim. However, this doesn't do anything but rage up Mr. Kim even more, as he delivers a punch of his own to Woodcutter, which breaks his neck right away, and Mr. Kim follows this up with a series of wicked punches which go right through Woodcutter's chest, organs, and out of his back, finishing off the monster in a matter of seconds. Ohio is dumbfounded, and he understands that even though he has seen a lot of monsters in this side of the business, there's no one like Mr. Kim, who might really be a monster. The said monster then starts approaching Ohio. Ohio starts begging to save his life and even puts out an offer saying that if Mr. Kim takes the chairman of Gourmet Section's life, his quest to find his kids will be stopped and there won't be any way for him to get anything. However, if he lets him live, Ohio will directly help him in finding the kids. Mr. Kim asks Panda for advice, who says that she thinks that Ohio is a simple chairman of a lowly section and doesn't hold much power and won't be able to negotiate with anyone who is in a higher state of power than him. She also says that Ohio isn't required to find the kids, as they can just use the patch of the finger chain to track the kids. Panda then covers Rai's eyes and tells Mr. Kim to do what he wants. Mr. Kim thanks Panda, saying that it's thanks to her that he can finish off Oh Hi OL without worrying about anything or have any regrets. And so, Mr. Kim finishes off Oh Hi OL with a punch to the face, thus putting an end to both the chairman and the entire organization of the gourmet section. Next up, we see that the people are still inside the gourmet section's office, where we see Rai and Panda have a conversation together. Rai tells Panda that because of her, an old man from the finger chain company lost his life. He came in to save her but couldn't do so. Panda is a bit surprised, so she asks Rai who she is talking about, and Rai tells her that she's talking about the guy who had a lot of wax on his hair and wore a half mask. Panda understands who she is talking about and lets Rai know that the person she is referring to is Herbie, and he is no old man. He is just 2 years older than Rai. And further on, Panda says that Herbie is still alive as Herbie is a specialist spy for the finger chain company. She says that it was Herbie's mission to go to Blue Moon City, infiltrate this place and search and save Rai. However, the chances of that happening like that were low, so they had a backup plan where Herbie would just try his best to plant the patch on Rai first and try other things next, so that if things go wrong, Panda could track Rai's location and save her life. Panda goes on to say that all agents of the finger chain company are trained to take on people from Blue Moon City, so it's unlikely for Herbie to pass away so easily. Instead, Herbie is probably chilling out somewhere, so Rai shouldn't worry. Rai feels a bit awkward knowing this, as she remembers clearly seeing Herbie's life being taken away by the peculiar monster. However, this reminds Rai that the terrifying monster is still lurking around here. Then we see the ugly monster from before lurking around, and it smells the scent of Mr. Kim and tries to attack him. However, Mr. Kim is unbothered by it and calls it a human's head on a bean sprout before absolutely destroying it with a solitary punch. After it gets finished off, we see that the guard from before Tan Sae was inside its body. Mr. Kim asks Tan Sae why was he in that monster's body, and Tan Sae replies by saying that he went to gather information on where the kids could have been and got tangled up with the monster. He tried his best to fight against it but eventually got eaten. Mr. Kim understands that he is lying and he probably got caught up while trying to run away. Right then, Panda and Rai also come to the scene. Mr. Kim asks where had Panda been, to which Panda says that she was inside the chairman's office for some intel gathering, and from there she picked Big Foods to be the next organization to invade. This shocks Tan Sae even more as Big Foods is an even bigger company. Panda explains why she picked Big Foods. It's because Big Foods are one of the biggest supporters of Gourmet Company, and they're both very similar in business. In fact, when Gourmet Section was a very small company, Big Foods helped them grow and expand their name, and that is why the relationship between the two companies have been great, and the chairmans have been brothers by oath since for a long time. And that is why they've been sharing information and other kinds of stuff for a long time without any sort of information, and from there have they found this file which shows that Rai's sister Ramo and one of Mr. Kim's elementary school students Hyun Jong are both under the control of Big Foods. And that is why that's the next place they have to go, and they'll think where to go next after they're done with Big Foods. Mr. Kim sees the picture of Hyun Jong and quickly signs up for this idea. However, Tan Sae is entirely against this idea, as he says that Chairman Og is a lot more powerful and influential than Chairman Hai Ol, and that he was one of the figures who was directly involved in the stopping of the revolution, so he has a very high status in the society and is a blue blood by that account, so messing with him is a huge mistake. Mr. Kim asks what exactly it means to be a blue blood, to which Panda explains that it's a title given to the people who own the biggest companies in the Blue Moon City, and they're the highest tier of people in the society. Mr. Kim says that it doesn't matter. Tan Sae tells Mr. Kim that it might not affect Mr. Kim, but it will surely do to Tan Sae, so he will rather sit it out. Mr. Kim then grabs him and threatens him by saying if he would rather prefer losing his life to him than the others, to which Tan Sae quickly changes his mind and says that he will guide them in their mission and take them through the easiest route. Meanwhile, Panda embraces Rai and tells her that she needs to go home now and rest out. Rai also feels her body now giving up after such a tense time, and that everything is fine now. Her school is going to be fine, her house is going to be fine, so it's all alright. It is then she realizes that nothing is alright, as her sister Ramo is still caught up in this mess. She then remembers how she saw the lifeless bodies of many people, and she doesn't want the same to happen to Ramo, so she says that she doesn't want to go home and wants to go to Big Foods with them. Mr. Kim is strongly opposed to this, as Rai is a mere child and she has no reason to go there and might be a cause of holdback for the rest of them, so she should stay home. Rai explains that this runs deeper than what Mr. Kim knows and says that her sister is at Big Foods and that she must go there for that. Mr. Kim tells her to let Panda handle that part of the business for her. However, Rai insists on going at all costs, so starts a huge childish battle of yeses and nos between Rai and Mr. Kim. It goes on for a pretty long time before Rai stops and instead asks Panda if she can go to Big Foods, and Panda agrees right away. This pisses off Mr. Kim right away as his mask breaks in anger and the broken part fell on Panda's face. He scolds Panda for letting this happen, but Panda makes it clear to her that Rain has a great ability, and with her family being involved, there's no greater reason for her to go. Still pissed off, Mr. Kim slightly understands the situation and says that he won't be taking accountability for anything and that they should not come to him if something goes wrong. Mr. Kim walks away after saying this, and Rai starts thanking Panda for allowing her to do this. Panda says that she doesn't want to allow Rai too, but there's no option as Rai was insisting and because Rai had a cool ability. However, Panda warns Rai saying that she needs to protect herself on her own, to which Rai agrees. At the Big Foods Company office, we see that a wild man is chomping down on food like there's no tomorrow. A guy is standing there keeping track of it all, and he says after a while to the guy from last time, who is Chairman Og, that they can't be wasting too much time and go to Gourmet Section office. Chairman mentions that Oh Hi OL isn't picking up his calls lately. Chairman Og says that they should get ready for it, and thus will start the conflict between Mr. Kim and Big Foods now. We then see that Panda, Mr. Kim, Rai and Tan Sae have gone to a clothing store by the name of Zipper. Tan Sae explains to everyone that Zipper is the only high-end clothing store outside of the main R of the Blue Moon City, this lying in the outskirts of the area. Mr. Kim is underwhelmed as he says that he had no idea that they had to come to a normal clothing store of all places. Panda, however, has a sarcastic laugh to what Mr. Kim has to say. Panda says that the place Mr. Kim is calling a mere fashion clothing store is much more than that, as it's a secret hiding base for the people of the fashion street inside the Blue Moon City to regroup and think things out before a big mission. Panda then shows the manager of Zipper her identification card from the Finger Chain group. The store manager asks her what work she has to do for her to come here, to which Panda says that she has come there to prepare for a mission before going there. The store manager accepts her offer to rest there, and they go and open up a massive zipper to reveal a secret hotel corridor, which shocks Tan Sae and Rai. We then get to know a bit of context on how things work in the fashion street. We learn how the fashion street was formed out of literal nothing and dirt by a person named Handsome. Handsome was always cautious of the Blue Moon City and their shenanigans. They knew about the corruption in Blue Moon City, and to tackle that, they created what is now known as the Finger Chain Company, a group of people who banded together and was led into the rest of world to become the eyes, nose, and ears of Handsome. This shocks Rai as she thought of the Finger Chain Company as some independent spy agency of sorts. Panda tells her that Finger Chain are much bigger than that, and even Zipper are a part of the Finger Chain fraternity. Later, we see that Rai is asleep, and all the people in the group and the manager of the Zipper clothing store are talking to figure out ideas. The store manager says that the location they want to go to is a bit risky. However, as Panda requested for it, he will provide his full support to the plan. Mr. Kim thanks the store owner for this favor, and Panda takes this as an opportunity to make fun of Mr. Kim, saying that she had no idea that Mr. Kim could be thankful. Mr. Kim gets irritated and asks just what kind of person does she think he is, to which Panda says that she can't tell as she has only seen him be angry. Mr. Kim then gets loud and says that he is angry because those people kidnapped his elementary school students. And this loud rant wakes up Rai, who is mad, so Mr. Kim apologizes. The store manager then reassures Mr. Kim by letting him know that they are 100% on his side because as an organization opposing the Blue Moon City, they always appreciate someone like Mr. Kim who stands up against the misdeeds of the city with all his capabilities. The store manager further adds by saying that even though their place in the city might look small, but their reach here and the facilities they can provide is at a very high level, so Mr. Kim can expect very good results from this collaboration on the mission. Panda then says that the hardest thing about all of this will be getting into a big company like Big Foods. She wonders just how can they get inside the place without causing any huge problems. She notes that if they tried to get in directly, then they would definitely be caught by the surveillance cameras, who will then alert the people inside to send attackers against them and might also get the police involved against them, which will be a huge problem for them going forward. Mr. Kim asks the store manager if he can join them in this mission directly, to which the store manager says that he can't do that, as their first mission as Zipper in this city is to blend in with the people and create a safe zone for the fashion street people, so he can't get involved directly and reveal himself As if that kind of stuff gets out, then an all-out war between the streets and city might just take place, which will be troublesome. The store manager further adds that they should avoid the police. The police on there said, Tan Sae might cause problem too, so they should think twice about trusting him. Tan Sae is taken aback by this accusation of sorts, and he quickly thinks of something before saying that they can use the pipes to get to the big foods company. He explains to the people that the bingo delivery service have made interconnected pipelines under the city for food delivery and stuff. And while he can't confirm if there's a route to big foods from there, they can still consider the route to get closer to the place. After hearing this plan, the crew take it in before realizing that it's a great plan and something that they can seriously do to get better results. Everyone praises Tan Sae for coming up with it, while Tan Sae says that he has always been quick-witted. Rai wonders if Tan Sae is really on their side. Tan Sae checks the map and shows them which path they should take. Meanwhile, the store manager tells Mr. Kim to put on some clothes, as even if underground, it's not nice to move around half naked on the street, so he should take some clothes, and coincidentally, he has some clothes that might suit Mr. Kim well. On the other side, we see that the chairman Og and his sidekick Mr. Barry has arrived to the gourmet section to have some special food as they were promised. However, they're a bit worried because OHIOL didn't call them. They can smell the blood all over the place, and Og wonders just what kind of food OHIOL must have prepared. Before they enter and find that the place is all messed up and have bodies and blood all over the place. One of the chefs of the gourmet section comes and explains how a red-masked man came and destroyed everything on his own. He had comrades, but the monster caused most of the rampage. However, his comrades included a woman, a young girl, and even a police officer. The police officer part shocks Barry, and he wonders if it is a real or pretend police officer. However, after listening to this, Barry grabs the throat of the chef and choles him out, and then eventually crushes it so hard that it finishes off the chef for good. Barry then hides the chef's body in his suit. Og is pissed off as his friend had been finished off, and he orders Barry to bring the lifeless body of the perpetrator, and Barry days that he will do it soon. Meanwhile, at the Zipper clothing store, we learn that Mr. Kim has been given some special designer clothes made by Handsome. The clothes have their own abilities such as shock absorption and stuff. They let Mr. Kim borrow it and even make a custom design on the back for him. Mr. Kim comes out, and we find out that he has been given a sturdy hoodie which has Redline written on the back as its main design. Mr. Kim then tells everyone to join him to save all the kids. We then see the bingo delivery service office. It's a big place, and there we see the manager of the bingo delivery service walking around in incredible pride before standing on top of a podium to deliver a speech for the workers of the bingo delivery service. The manager starts off by greeting every worker for the morning, and the workers greet him back with equal enthusiasm, if not more. The manager then informs everyone of the latest news that has been given to them by the Big Foods Company. The news is that one of the companies they worked with, the gourmet section, has officially shut down after some shady events that occurred there, and he says that all work with them has been temporarily shut down. The manager then promises to tell the workers more about this after they're done with the current set of orders and assignments. The manager then tells everyone that they need to work hard like always today and that they need to be enthusiastic. The workers repeat the sentiment of the manager and say that they all will work with intensity and give it their best. The manager then starts their patented chant before getting the work, asking them who they are, and the workers reply by chanting back that they're the bingo delivery service. The manager asks again and tells the workers to be louder because with how they currently are, their voices won't even reach anyone if they ask for help in trouble. Hence, the workers yell back loudly that they're indeed the bingo delivery service. And so the manager orders the shutters to be open, and when it is opened, we see the icebreaker squad go in first and break the excessive ice to free up the workspace, followed by the distribution squad, who goes in and delivers the ice-molded boxes to the intended locations. The manager is happy to see how fired up his workers are and is hoping for a great day ahead. One of his assistants asks the manager if he feels cold or not in this cold environment, as he is not wearing anything, but the manager says that he feels wonderful and feels so fired up that no cold can catch him, and he can even go shirtless if he wanted to go. Right then, we see the opening gates shutter open up, and it's none other than Redline himself, Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim greets everyone after coming to the scene. We then see that 30 minutes prior to everything that is happening, that Mr. Kim, Panda, Tae-san and Rai have all entered the bingo delivery service office, and they find the workers' uniform and wonder why they're so careless in leaving all those clothes behind. They start putting it on, and at that moment Tae-san mentions about something that he heard from a senior, that all the big organization had a common blacklist book between them, which they use to mark out the people they have a problem with, and those said people are then usually seen gone missing and without any information about where they can possibly be. Those people are then usually found by the police later in random places, being frozen into ice-molded boxes and with no signs of life. While there are many things about those things, but it is often speculated that the bingo delivery service are directly involved in taking lives of those said people. Kim asks if the bingo delivery service are known for being contract assassins alongside doing actual work as well. Rai wonders if the people in the bingo delivery service are really strong and dangerous, to which Tae-san confirms that they're indeed very strong, as their leader, the manager, is known to be former MMA fighter who was too vicious for the fight game and was directly involved in the taking of several lives, which banned him from MMA competitions going forward. This worries everyone, but Panda tells everyone to get back on track and get focused on executing the plan they've decided for them to go through with. And that said plan starts off by having Mr. Kim be the one leading the attack front and go out to the office and fight. We then see that Mr. Kim has entered the room and the manager tells him to not go further inside as he doesn't allow non-allowed personnel to the room, to which Mr. Kim says that he is indeed a person without the authority to go further in, but he will go in anyways. Right then Mr. Kim delivers a massive punch to the face of the so-called fighter manager and sends him off by flying too hard back and destroying the walls behind. Then the Icebreakers squad go on next to attack Mr. Kim. However, Mr. Kim is barely bothered by this, and he hits a punch to one of the Icebreakers' hammer and breaks it into pieces. Mr. Kim then hits the Icebreaker with jab punch, which sends him flying back, as is the case for anyone who takes a hit from Mr. Kim. The rest of the workers are scared and are wondering how did the guy break an ice-breaking hammer with a single punch. However, the assistant manager tells them that there's no reason to be scared as they're the bingo delivery service, and this fires up the workers who run in to attack Mr. Kim, but it's nothing that he can't deal with, so Mr. Kim easily dispatches multiple workers with single punches and starts laying them all out. We see the guy who was handling all the distribution information on his notepad think just what this monster of a man is doing. That is when Panda, Rai and Tae-san blindside the man and attack him to take all the notes from him. Panda says that even though they meticulously planned for this by having Kim attack and destroy everyone so that they can sneak in and do this, she is still surprised by how well the plan has been put into action by them. She then reads out that the pipeline they need to go through is called B44 and they decide to go there. She reads that they need to use a forklift to get on top of the ice and then sit on top of it to go there. Tae-san is a bit skeptical as he wonders if they'll fall down if they get on the ice because it's slippery, and that is when Tae-san slips and falls down. Them falling makes a noise and this alerts everyone around them, and the workers notice that they're also intruders because they aren't wearing work shoes. They then alert everyone else that there are intruders on this side too. This makes all the workers turn their attention to Panda, Rai and Tae-san, and then Panda calls out to Mr. Kim, asking him to get them on top of the ice and send them through the B44 pipeline. Mr. Kim is a bit disappointed as he had done all the hard work fighting off the workers and the manager to create an opportunity for the plan to work out, only for them to end up blowing it. Mr. Kim then takes out everyone in his path and goes towards his squad, and gets them atop of the ice and kicks the ice to send them down the B44 pipeline, and the assistant manager sees this and tells the workers to follow the team that went down the pipeline. However, Mr. Kim gets in the way and tells them to not look over him, as he is still there. That is when the assistant manager tells him that he should first finish the fight that he started. Mr. Kim is slightly confused as to which fight he is referring to, but right then, the manager who was punched first gets back up and hits Mr. Kim with a punch of his own. This allows the workers to chase after Pando and Co. in the B44 pipeline. Mr. Kim tries to fight off the manager with some punches from the bottom. However, the manager is resilient and has the mount, so he is ready to go on attack and stop Mr. Kim as he was challenged by him to do so. We then see a handsome young man at the scene where it all started with Mr. Kim, when he attacked Tae-san and other gatekeeping officers. The man is a detective named Aston, and he is investigating the case of the 3 officers disappearing after that day. Aston interviews an officer who said that he didn't find his co-workers after that day. He said that one of the officers were very reserved, so he doesn't know about him, but the other 2 won't just disappear without notice. Aston notices that the work was done very swiftly and wonder if it was the job of someone within the organization who helped clean up, or maybe it was done by an intruder. He wonders that if the intruder had superpowers, because the way the wall was damaged wouldn't be possible without superpowers. This is when a senior gatekeeping officer comes and tells Aston that it isn't a big deal that they went missing, and said that the 3 will eventually be found out and be punished for their lack of responsibility. Aston thinks the officer is taking this too lightly, as it's unusual for guards to leave midway through their duty and in that too, leave without trace. The officer doesn't like the detective's accusations and tells Aston to go ask the higher-ups if he doesn't believe him. The officer also says that while Detective Aston might have jurisdiction over the area, he shouldn't just come and disrupt their normal day's work. The officer then walks off saying that he has no idea why the higher-ups give jurisdiction over important things to such incompetent people. All while Aston himself watches. We then see that inside the B-44 pipeline, the workers are chasing Panda, Tan Sae, and Rai. One of the workers gets on the ice track as they're sliding down, but Panda takes quick care of them with a hook kick to the face. We then see that Rai is hitting Tan Sae with a briefcase and telling him that it's all his fault that they got caught and that he slipped on purpose. Tan Sae apologizes for what happened and says that he didn't do it on purpose. However, Rai doesn't believe him and keeps on saying that he betrayed them and is a double agent. Tan Sae says that he feels bad that he is still treated that way after showing loyalty to them. This is when the assistant manager from before comes and asks them the question if they're in the correct situation to argue and fight amongst themselves. After that, the assistant manager uses his ice roller skates to cut through the ice that Panda and Co were sitting on, separating them into two. Tan Sae on the smaller side, Rai and Panda on the larger side. Tan Sae struggles to keep balance on the smaller side, and then the parts of ice go down different sides of the pipe, separating them. Rai is worried that Tan Sae is gone and he is alone. And that is when the assistant manager starts fighting Panda. Panda quickly deduces that the assistant manager isn't actually the assistant manager, but a person in a much bigger role than the manager. The guy then says that she guessed right, even though he is from a different organization, he is in a much bigger position. He is the director of the ice chamber and his name is Chamin. And so the fight continues and both of them go into it with a roundhouse kick and block each other out. As the fight goes in, Panda matches Chamin in skills and is arguably more dynamic, so this surprises Chamin as he thinks she is very much like someone he once knew. This is when we see that more people from Shaman's squad have arrived to help, and this distracts Panda and allows Chamin to take over and dominate the fight. As Chamin starts trash-talking her, Panda makes a surprising comeback by hitting Chamin with a handspring kick. Meanwhile, on the other side, we see that Tan Sae is still hung up on how Rai keeps calling him a traitor. And it bothers him. And it bothers him because Rai is so smart. She saw through him and understood that he was indeed setting them up for this catastrophe and is happy that he is alone now and plan on moving forward from this line of the pipe and make it outside, where he can contact his people and arrange action against these street thugs who invaded their land. Meanwhile, on the other hand, we see that the manager of Bingo Delivery Service throws a huge chunk of ice towards Mr. Kim, which he breaks with rather ease with a punch. The manager says that Mr. Kim is the best and is a perfect fit to fight him. After saying that, the manager throws another chunk of ice which hits Mr. Kim and sends him back flying into the wall. The manager then walks up to him and says that the people of the street have overcomplicated fighting and took the fun out of it. According to him, the best kind of fight is the one that is fought between two real men and a fight that is fought with their fists and feet. And in a fight where they both take and give hits. Mr. Kim says that he doesn't have any interest in of his philosophy, but the manager said that he thinks that him and Mr. Kim could be great friends. However, that is when Mr. Kim grabs a hold of the manager's feet and starts swinging him like a rag doll. Kim then destroys him with his power and says that he doesn't have any interest in the manager or his workers. The only thing that he cares about are his kids and where they are. Just as Mr. Kim starts walking towards the B-44 pipeline, and right then, the manager speaks up again, asking Mr. Kim that he had no idea that Kim was married. Kim is shocked and asks the manager how he is alive, as most guys would have not been alive after what he did to him. Mr. Kim also asks if he has any supernatural powers. The manager speaks up and says that he indeed has a superpower, a power that allows him to turn all his pain and injuries into more muscles. Mr. Kim calls him a cockroach, but the manager considers it a compliment because he loves cockroaches and has 20 pet cockroaches at home. The manager runs at Mr. Kim and starts unloading all of his best punches at him with rapid speed. Mr. Kim starts blocking while also giving some of the punches back. They both go at it for a long time and eventually they both load up a huge punch and end up colliding fist to fist, and the impact sends them both back quite a few yards. A bleeding manager tells Mr. Kim to finally admit that he can't beat him because his power is too scary. His power allows him to turn all of the attacks taken in to his own strength. When it comes to supernatural fighters versus supernatural fighters kind of fights, he is only below the ones who have a power that can counter his own power, and from what it seems, Mr. Kim's power is not a particularly handy one and is definitely below his, so Kim stands no chance against him. Mr. Kim stands alone as he wonders what to do and prepares for the fight that is ahead of him from now on. We then see the floor shaking as the manager and Mr. Kim restarted their fight. However, this time, it is mostly the manager dominating Mr. Kim, as he delivers several brutal punches to the chest and face to take over in the fight. At one point, Mr. Kim is against the wall, and the manager tries to deliver a finishing blow with a punch. However, Mr. Kim dodges and the pillar takes the blow and breaks by the force of it. The manager notices this and asks Mr. Kim why he is only taking shots and not trying to give them back. He asks if Kim had lost all hope. Mr. Kim is in thinking mode. He understands that he is at a huge disadvantage in this fight and that he can't throw any blows at all to the guy who can take blows and get stronger by building muscles from it. So, if he can't attack the manager with strikes, he needs to resort to the grappling game. And so as the manager charges in to fight Mr. Kim again, Kim also charges towards him, but not to throw blows, but to land a Greco-Roman wrestling takedown. The manager notices that Mr. Kim is not throwing blows and has switched up his game to grapple now, however, as Mr. Kim is using his hands to grab the manager's head down. He says that getting into a grappling contest with him isn't a wise decision and turns around the tables and puts Kim into a modified inverted armbar. The manager praises Mr. Kim for thinking of this tactic and says that it's not a bad idea at all. However, Mr. Kim lacks the skills to make it work against someone like him. The manager asks Mr. Kim if he had ever trained in martial arts professionally, before applying tons of pressure to the arm and literally ripping out the entire arm from the shoulder socket. However, Mr. Kim's supernatural powers allow him to regenerate lost limbs pretty quick, so Mr. Kim takes control of the severed arm to land a punch to knock down the manager. He then uses his other arm to hold the manager's head down from behind as his severed arm reconnects to his shoulder socket. The manager says that even though Kim called him a cockroach, Kim himself is probably much worse than one. Mr. Kim finally got the manager where he wants him, and he puts pressure on his head to break the concrete floor and shove the manager's face inside. Mr. Kim then drags the manager's head through that, but the manager says that all this effort is for nothing, as nothing that Kim does will affect him in any way, and the one with the final laugh will always be him. This is when Mr. Kim drags his head up and slings his body inside a room. The manager says that things are getting heated up and he loves it. However, Mr. Kim says that things aren't getting heated up, it's gonna get cooled down, as the room the manager was put into was the instant freezer room. The manager understands that it was Kim's plan to put him inside the freezer to try and control him. Mr. Kim further goes on to say that he heard about how bingo delivery service frees people to take their lives away, so it's now the turn for its head to experience the same. Saying that, he lowers down the temperature to unbearable levels and closes the door. The manager quickly rushes in to stop the doors from closing and manages to do so. The manager then asks Mr. Kim why he is trying to run away from their fight. Mr. Kim, however, hits him with a punch so hard that it disfigures his head and sends him back, saying that he isn't running away from anything, and that the manager has already lost the fight, before closing down the door again. The manager tries to stop him again, but this time the door gets closed. However, the manager punches the gate so hard that his hand breaks through the gate and was about to hit Mr. Kim, who caught it with his hand. We then saw the hand also freeze alongside the rest of the body, and Mr. Kim say that the manager was disgusting until the last breath and wonders if all supernatural power users are just as disgusting as him. Meanwhile, in the B-44 pipeline, we see a huge fight going on between the director of the ice chamber and Panda. The fight is mostly being fought in Taekwondo style, as we see several kicks being thrown from both sides, and most of them being dodged by both because of their quickness and agility. Chaman has an unfair advantage over Panda though, as he is wearing ice roller skates which can basically be used as blades when kicking. So as Chaman throws one of his kicks, Panda tries to dodge it, but the blades on the skates slightly graze her in the cheek, which leaves her with a cut on there and draws blood. Rai sees this and wonders how she never understood that Panda was such a badass from her lazy and laid-back attitude as a teacher, but here she is showing her prowess. However, the man she is fighting is very strong as well, and in fact, it really looks as if Panda is at a disadvantage. It is then that we see Panda's technicality as she drops down and changes the pace up from doing head kicks to doing a sweeping leg kick which drops Chamin off the ice mold. However, Chamin is experienced working in such environments, so he quickly gets back up and tells Panda that she gets an A+4 effort and cuts the ice mold even thinner. This disbalances Rai, who is about to fall off, but surprisingly enough, it's Chamin who goes to her aid and picks her up. Chamin then berates Panda verbally for calling herself a teacher when she brought her underage student to such a dangerous environment. Panda doesn't say anything because she knows that she is at fault for this. Chamin then goes into his rant, saying that the skill discrepancy is very evident and that Panda stands no chance against him. He says that he has been holding back this entire time, or else this would have been over long before. Panda looks on proudly as she tells the director of the ice chamber that he really has gotten a lot stronger. Panda then refers to him as Chamin, which totally baffles the man as he had not told her his name. Panda then asks him if he still can't remember. However, Chamin tells her that while she does resemble the person, she cannot be her, as that person was very cool and not half-witted and irrational like Panda. This angers Panda and she jumps right up to hit him with a kick as the dumb and half-witted comment got to her. She tells him that this is no way to treat a colleague he had not seen for ages. She now vows to go all out herself as she was holding it back too. Chamin says that the person she resembles would never act so irresponsibly as he dodges the jumping axe kick from Panda. However, as Panda lands, she activates her supernatural power, called the matter solidification, and asks Chamin if he still believes that it's not her after experiencing this. Suddenly, the block of ice they were standing on melts and turns into water jelly, and Chamin falls right into it. Chamin wonders if this is really the popular matter solidification technique, and his thoughts are proven right when Panda solidifies the water jelly back into ice and traps him in between. It really is the technique known as matter solidification, which allows Panda to reshape and reform anything into what she wishes. Panda then asks Chamin if he believes her now, and Chamin says that people do really change after all. Panda tells him that he has changed a lot too, before getting mad and starting to stomp him while he is unable to defend himself, for calling her half-witted and dumb. She says that he should have been nicer to an ex-colleague, and then a confused Rai asks Panda what does she mean when she refers to the ice chamber director as a colleague. Panda then nonchalantly tells Rai that she is originally from the Blue Moon City, which shocks Rai. Later on, we see that Tan Sae, the gatekeeper, is happy to have made it outside by sliding through the pipeline on a block of ice. He is very happy to have made it outside and says that it feels good and that now he will be able to talk to the police about what went down with the intruders. Only for him to be then greeted by Panda, Rai, and Mr. Kim, who made it outside way before he did. This shocks Tan Sae as he can't believe how they made it outside, but Mr. Kim asks him what he meant when he said that it feels good, to which Tan Sae lies and says that he meant it feels good to see them again, to which Panda says that the feelings are mutual. We then see a flashback of Mr. Kim where he is spending time with the kid who is caught up with the big food organization, named Hyeon Jong. We learn that Hyeon Jong is a like ray of sunshine and is always smiling no matter what. Even when she falls down and gets hurt, she acts like nothing happens. So for a girl like that, who can't show her sadness or pain, to be caught up in this syndicate, it must be really bad for her. There's a secret as to how they can protect her, a secret only known by Kim and the principal. Just then, Panda keeps calling out Kim's name and he gets back to his senses. Panda asks Mr. Kim if he was sleeping, to which Mr. Kim says that he wasn't sleeping, just thinking about something. Panda then tells Kim to follow her as Chamin woke up. We then see Panda and Mr. Kim having a conversation with Chamin, where they ask him to turn a blind eye to what they're gonna do and keep the bingo delivery service running like nothing ever happened. Chamin refuses to agree to these terms as he can't just turn a blind eye to what they've already done, and besides they plan on launching a sneak attack on the city's backbone, one of its biggest industries, so no way he can agree to these terms. Mr. Kim then speaks up and tells Chamin that if he refuses to agree to their terms, then there will be no choice left to Mr. Kim but to take his life and go forward with their things anyway. Mr. Kim also says that not only just his life, but the lives of everyone that works for him loyally in the ice chamber. And besides, this isn't something they've figured out for themselves, it's something they've figured out for the safety of them, because if it were not for Panda vouching for them, Mr. Kim would have taken their lives anyway. Panda says that she has done it for them because they were once colleagues after all. We then see a flashback where Mr. Kim confronts Panda as for why she would want to keep Chamin and others alive, asking if she has any attachments to the city and their people. Panda says that she long left that rotten city for the fashionable life and that she holds no affection. However, Bingo Delivery Service is a big company, and for it to shut down so abruptly would be bad news for them, as it'll point out at something being wrong. So they need them to have Chaman and others run it for them. And besides, Chaman is a soft-hearted guy, so he will end up agreeing after a while. And just as Panda predicted, they all end up agreeing to the terms after a while, and so the squad, with Tae-san, moves forward through the pipelines without anyone stopping them. Rai says that she had no idea that not even a single person wouldn't object to them, but here they are. Tae-san says that it's because, in the city, people listen to orders wholeheartedly and follow them to their best ability. Mr. Kim then asks Panda if what Chaman said was true, and Panda says that Chaman has no reason to lie. We then learn what Chaman said. He said that the child kidnapping is a shame and he hopes it ends soon as it puts a bad mark on the city's name. He says that he can't help them directly, however, he will give them this bit of information, that being that the big food organization office that they plan on visiting isn't the real office. It's just a fake office, set up as a proxy to run only the bare minimum part of their business. He says that he knows this because he visited the fake office. However, he doesn't know where the real office is, so that's for them to find out. Back to present time, Mr. Kim says that maybe the guy who he took out maybe knew something about where the real big foods might be. Panda jokingly suggests that they defrost the guy to talk to him. However, Mr. Kim doesn't want that, as he is too much of a nuisance. This is when Tae-san suggests that if they can't get information about the big foods office from outsiders, they need to talk to the insiders. Mr. Kim asks where will they find the insiders, to which Tae-san says that they can just go and search the nearest organization to them, his suggestion being CAS Plus. Later at the CAS Plus office, we see that they're beating up the chairman of a mod-level company called Our Construction, named Horan. Horan says that they will regret beating him up because there's his bodyguards and the police who will come chasing after them for doing so. The big sturdy men laugh, while their leader walks in asking why everyone who they bring here say the same thing. The guy then picks up Horan by his hair and says that they're still here after so long is because they can get away with these things. It's because police don't care about mid-level companies getting ended. Besides, it's Horan's fault for getting in the blacklist. As he beats up Horan, Mr. Kim arrives to the scene. Horan wonders if the huge guy is here to save him, while the guys also think the same. They ask Mr. Kim if he came to support Horan, to which Mr. Kim denies and says he came to ask a few questions. The leader says that he can't let an outsider get away after seeing this and tells his lackeys to get him. However, Mr. Kim throws the lackey out of a window to everyone's surprise. Another lackey is sent, but he is thrown to the opposite side with so much force that he breaks through a wall and out. The lackeys wonder if this guy has supernatural powers but go to attack him nonetheless. Mr. Kim throws a massive punch that takes out all of them. Now Mr. Kim approaches the leader as he begs off and asks for mercy. Mr. Kim then slaps the guy lightly to not gravely injure him and get him ready for some interrogation. Mr. Kim thinks about what Tae-san said, that he should beat them up hard first and then ask questions, and if they don't have answers, then use them to his content, as they'll be willing to do anything to stay alive. And so, Mr. Kim gets ready to discipline him first. The story continues, and we see that outside the building of the CAS Plus, we see that a whole group of people have arrived in cars, and they all carry weapons such as katanas in their hands. One of those guys is a purple-haired man. The man is the little brother of the chairman of Our Construction, the vice chairman, Hoka, and he has arrived to help his brother. One of the assistants tries to tell Hoka that it might not be a good idea to go and that his brother might have already lost. But Hoka is fired up to save his brother, and he is also confident that his brother wouldn't lose so easily. And so the group of people enter the building of CAS Plus. Upon going to the particular floor, Hoka sees that his brother is right there, and so he rushes over to him and asks his brother if he is okay and all other things. We then see that the leader of the CAS Plus has beaten to a pulp, so much so that he can't even be recognized by the people who know him well. Horan then introduces his younger brother to the man who saved his life by beating up all the goons from CAS Plus, and it is none other than Redline himself, Mr. Kim, who we see is seated on top of the back of the goons as the two brothers bow down to thank him for the favor, and Horan says that he will pay back this favor in whatever way possible. Mr. Kim tells the brothers that he is too busy at the moment and that they shouldn't bother him. We then see the beaten-up goons making calls to various people to investigate the big food company's hidden building. However, they're incapable of finding one. Mr. Kim then approaches the leader of the CAS Plus and threatens him some more about finding him the location. Hoka asks Horan what the huge man in front of them, that being Mr. Kim, is looking for. To which Horan says that he is looking for the big food company's hidden office building. This shocks Hoka as he wonders why the big food company would have a hidden office building. To which his brother tells him that it's a common practice for big blue blood companies to make a separate hidden building to cover up their dirty work. After hearing this, Hoka calls out to Mr. Kim. He tells Kim that he is sorry to interrupt him, however, he feels that there will be no results in asking these goons to investigate such a confidential thing about the big food organization. Instead, he suggests that Mr. Kim looks into the information that he provides. Mr. Kim is interested in listening to this. Hoka explains how the hidden building of big food organization is most probably one of the huge buildings in the city, because even though these are supposed to be hidden buildings, the egos of the blue blood businessmen won't allow them to make a small and less featured building. So with a correct estimate of how big and featured the office building of Big Foods might be, they can probably find out which one it is, as our construction can look into shady buildings and investigate them. Mr. Kim says that if they help him in uncovering the hidden building of Big Foods like this, it will be a huge favor to him. Hoka says that it's nothing, and that they're just going to be repaying the favor that was made by Mr. Kim when he saved Horan's life. Afterwards, we see that Hoka is thinking about how getting this over with will at least help him stay free of debt from this suspicious big man. As Hoka knows that his elder brother is a great businessman, however, he is incredibly soft-hearted, so he will go beyond the parameters to return the favor of someone who saved his life and might cause them even more problems leading forward. So it is important that they don't stay indebted to such a problematic man. Horan then comes from behind and puts his arm over the shoulders of Hoka as he goes gaga about how proud he is of his younger brother and that how he is so great at doing work such as this. Horan then tells Mr. Kim that not only will they help identify the building for them, they will also help Mr. Kim in investigating it and uncovering all the people behind it. This angers Hoka as what he fears has come true. He yells at Horan, saying that he can't be going on and helping others so much when he, himself, is on the blacklist and people are constantly looking to finish him off. Horan claps back, saying that he isn't just helping anyone, he is helping the person who saved his life, so putting his life on the line to help him is nothing for a man like him. Hoka tells his brother to get it together instead of worrying about these things. Mr. Kim sees this and informs the brothers that he is capable of investigating the people involved on his own, so they need not to worry about helping him with that and they should instead take care of themselves. This once again impresses Horan, who can't believe how graceful and kind Mr. Kim is, as he keeps fanboying over the man who saved his life. We then see Hoka dragging his childish elder brother with him to the outside as Horan shouts and tells Mr. Kim that as his savior, if Kim ever needs any kind of help with anything, he should contact him, Horan, at any time and at any place and he will be there for him and provide as much help as he can, while Hoka constantly tells him to shut up and move on from this. The scene changes and we see that Mr. Kim is telling someone that he wants them to do something for him. Then we see the people he said that to. It includes an illegal service company who they contacted to investigate the buildings. There are people from the chicken restaurant who are actually arms dealer in disguise, a service who clean up lifeless bodies and a group who operate as paid mercenaries. They all refuse to listen to Mr. Kim's offer to cooperate and all of them are taken out by the raged-up Kim with punches to the face. After getting hit though, all of them change their mind and agree to work with Mr. Kim and company. Tansy is sure that if they keep working with the same pacing, it will only be a matter of time before they track down the Big Food's hidden office building. Mr. Kim says that he hopes so because it has already been too long. Panda says that if the people of our constructions recommended this, then they should totally go with it as our constructions are known for their incredible business minds. Mr. Kim then thinks about Hyeonjong and says that it has already been too long, but he is coming to save her soon. The scene then changes and we see Hyeonjong enjoying her time as a captive under the Big Foods company, where she is seen playing cards with a strong-looking man. She says that they've lost once again and Ramo, Rai's younger sister, won again. The man, named Rosal, asks Ramo if it's really true that she hasn't ever played cards, to which she says that it's true. Rosal then says that they should play one more game and so they get ready. Hyeonjong asks Rosal, when will the kids be able to go home? To which Rosal says he has no idea as he is just a mere caretaker for the kids. This rings a bell inside Ramo's head, which she says is the 56th time this is happening, implying Rosal lied. Hyeonjong then says that while she enjoys spending time with Rosal, she wants to go back home and meet with her family. Rosal asks Hyeonjong if she even has a family, and Hyeonjong refers to her school mates as her siblings and the teachers as parents. Rosal says that the teachers are just doing jobs, so they aren't family. However, Hyeonjong really considers them family. Rosal says he understands before saying that there is a rumor that a man donning a red mask is going around the city and destroying everything and hurting people. He also says that there is a skilled woman who wears sunglasses. Ramo quickly understands that Rosal is referring to Panda. Rosal then shocks her by saying that the woman is not alive anymore. Ramo ends up showing a bit of a reaction, but the bell rings inside of her for the 57th time and she says that it was a lie. Rosal laughs and says that it was a lie after all, but why is she so bothered by it? Is the woman someone she knows? Ramo is put under a lot of pressure and she tries to deny it when Rosal gets close to her to tell her a secret. Rosal tells her that he is also from the street, so there's no way he would sell one of his own out. This is when someone comes to call Rosal and asks him to come. Later, the person asks Rosal why he meets up with the kids so often and if he got attached to them or not. Rosal says that he just got bored and nothing else. The person tells him that they're just ingredients, so don't get close to them. Rosal then says that he has some information, but he won't tell it unless he is paid. After getting paid, Rosal tells the person that the people who took out the gourmet are probably connected to these kids. But the guy is skeptical of this, as the red-masked monster could be a mercenary, as there was a guy like him who went on a spree a few years back. Then the guy offers a whole lot of money to Rosal and tells him to deal with those people and take them out, as he is the most trusted and efficient assassin. Rosal says that he likes money more than compliments and asks where he would find the whereabouts of those people. The guy says that he gave him all the information he had and money too, so the rest is for him to figure out. Rosal then decides to take up the job and is excited to get to work. We then see Mr. Kim getting out of a huge building in a lot of rage. He punches the door on his way out and he shouts how it was wrong. He yells about how it was supposed to be the hidden office building of the big foods company. However, it's just a random criminal hideout. Panda tells Kim that they just fell for the wrong clues and thought that the giant food had spread out. Rai asks Tansy if the big foods are aware of them and their search for them, to which Tansy says that it is very unlikely, as if they did, they would have sent out police to get them. Mr. Kim says that he would be better off getting help from the Zipper about finding the big foods building, but then Panda goes forward and tells an angry Kim to calm down, as there is no point in thinking that the Zipper could help them, as they have very limited sources of investigation there. As Kim rages up and his mask breaks and shards starts falling off, Panda goes up to him and uses matter solidification technique to solidify them and gives Kim hope to move forward. As all of this is happening, we see Rosal observing it all from the top of the building as he gets ready for his mission. The scene then changes and we see Chairman Og, the obese and gigantic chairman of the big food organization, having a very overly luxurious lunch. Then his assistant, Barry, shows up and asks Chairman Og how he is doing, to which Chairman Og says that he feels good and that even the doctor told him that he got a lot better and healthier. Barry says that it's good news and maybe now is the time that they go forward with the scheduled blood ritual that they wanted to do but couldn't because of issues. Barry then asks Chairman Og if he had selected which kid he wanted to sacrifice for the blood ritual, and this gets Chairman Og curious. However, Barry steps in before he entertains his wants too much and says that he must only choose one of the children because, in his current health condition, going for more than one will cause a lot of issues with everything. And further on, he says that one of the kids, Ramo in this case, is someone the people who attacked the gourmet and took the life of Chairman Ohio were looking for her, and while it might not be something to worry about deeply, they would still want to have some hostage for them to fall back upon in case of a need. Chairman Og hears this out and then finally decides on who he wants to pick to sacrifice among Hyeonjong and Ramo. However, we don't quite get to know for sure just yet. Meanwhile, back on the street, we see Mr. Kim, Panda, Tansy and Rai all moving forward as they search for the real office building of the big foods. Tansy says that they've checked almost all major buildings, all but two of them. Those two being the buildings of a mineral water manufacturer called Mineral Mountain, and the other one being a display manufacturing company named EveryPad. Mr. Kim deduces that it must be the mineral water manufacturer who are the proxy company for big foods, as there is no need for a water manufacturing company to have such a huge office, and yet they have it. Tansy explains that during the Big War, the rebel forces had purposefully contaminated the water, so from then on, the people of the city had to buy water bottles, and Mineral Mountain were the first to get into the business, hence why they're so big. He even says that he doesn't understand why they would let such a big company on the suspect list. Tansy then informs the group that the offices of both Every Pad and Mineral Mountain are nearby, so if they spend too much time in one office, the other will be alerted. Rai says that it means that they need to choose wisely as they probably have one shot at this. That is when a voice is heard saying that they don't need to choose wisely as both offices are the hidden buildings of Chairman Og's Big Foods. Mr. Kim asks who it is, and it is none other than Rosal, and he introduces himself as such. He also says that he is known as Purple, and that bit of information alongside his purple neckband scares both Tansy and Panda. Panda tells Mr. Kim that they should leave, and that is when Rosal gets down from the building and gets to work. Kim asks him if he knows a lot about the headquarters, to which he says that he does, because after all, he was sent by the headquarters to assassinate Kim. Mr. Kim sees that Rosal has a card as a weapon and goes to attack him. However, Rosal dodges the punch and uses his cards to slice him into two halves. Panda then goes to attack Rosal with a head kick from behind, and Rosal praises her, saying that she must be an assassin too as he couldn't feel her presence. However, she is too slow. We learn that Panda's kick was blocked by Rosal's card, which he then flicks away to a huge blast which sends Panda back flying. Tansy is shocked that he got to see a Purple at work. Purples are people of the street who were given special citizenship by the government of the city for one reason or another. It is also rumored that purple neck-tag wearing people are diplomatic mercenaries. Rosal then calls out Tansy, calling him a fake police officer, and tells him to show himself. Rosal then throws a few of his cards towards Tansy with bullet-like accuracy, and the cards end up hitting Tansy's uniform and pin him down to the road, as Rosal doesn't want to risk it by taking the life of a real police officer. Rosal then approaches Rai, and she loads up her special technique, which isn't powerful enough to fight him. Rosal then says that she looks like Ramo and asks if they're sisters. Rai asks if he knows Ramo, to which he puts his hand inside his shirt and says he does. He then snaps something out which scares Rai, but it's a rose. He then hands over the rose to her and says that Ramo is his bestie and that he heard a lot about Rai. About how she's a top student in a fashion school and how she is a beauty, but he actually prefers Ramo's looks to her looks. However, Rosal says that what he is about to do is going to deeply piss off Ramo, as he is going to take the life of her family, her own sister. Rosal then says that he will make up for it by making sure Ramo reaches her sister quick. And so he holds his card to attack, and we see a person being beheaded. However, the one who was beheaded wasn't Rai, it was Mr. Kim, who had regenerated. Mr. Kim manages to grab his head and put it back in place as he makes sure to get Rai out of the way. He also tells her that this is exactly why he didn't want to bring her along. She will just be a liability to the team. Rosal is impressed by Mr. Kim. He wonders how did Mr. Kim manage to regenerate so fast when he was literally cut into two halves. He asks if it's a supernatural ability of his or if there's some other trickery going on behind this. This is when Panda tries to find an opening and tries to jump Rosal with a kick to the head. However, Rosal realizes that it is coming, and so he uses his card to intercept the attack and send Panda flying back again. As he keeps blabbering about how he will beat this pseudo-immortal person, but he comes to the conclusion that he will keep taking his life until he is unable to react and regenerate. And so starts the brutal chopping session from Rosal, where he first cuts Mr. Kim into multiple pieces, and before he can regenerate, he cuts those pieces to even more pieces, and then he slices those pieces of Kim and basically grates him into little piles of meat. And so it seems like he has taken care of the Mr. Kim problem by taking his life, deeming him unable to regenerate again. He then turns his attention to Rai. Rai, meanwhile, understands that Mr. Kim can probably still regenerate, but he needs more time for it to happen, and so she decides to buy some time from Rosal, but she isn't quite sure how she will be able to pull that off. Something comes to her mind as she asks the question of what Rosal meant when he said that he will also send Ramo to her. Does it mean that Rosal will take Ramo's life too? Rosal says that she probably doesn't know how it works, so he says that he will satisfy her curiosity by explaining it to her. Rosal starts explaining by saying that Chairman Og, the chairman of Big Foods Company, is hundreds of years old and he suffers from cancer. While they have state-of-the-art technology in the Blue Moon City, enough to cure cancer, however, Chairman Og has some issues. Whether that is related to his supernatural powers is not known, but it doesn't allow him to cure the cancer from normal treatment. He says that Chairman Og is a very sturdy man, and was one of the main features of the war against the rebels and was a valiant warrior there, so that's why he is able to handle cancer. However, cancer is a big issue as well, and that's why Chairman Og started eating everything and all things, and all of it in massive quantity to get bigger in size to combat the problems of cancer. However, doing what he was doing had made the man's taste very crooked, and also, it wasn't being enough to cure his issues, and the problems were showing as such. That is when a doctor came to the Blue Moon City, an expert. The doctor said that they have to extract blood and fluid from a girl who matches 90% of the ingredients he needs to create the perfect medicine that would fix Chairman Og. Chairman Og then used his power and influence to start searching for girls who could match that. However, while a lot of them matched it, none could get up to the required parameter, and so it failed. However, luck favored Chairman Og, as from the kidnapped kids, 2 girls ended up matching the limit, and now they'll be used as ingredients, and so one of those 2 girls will have her entire body's blood pulled out from her for the ingredients of the medicine. And due to his change in taste lately, Chairman Og has started eating humans, so maybe the other one will become a snack for him. After the explanation, Rosal says he is done and that this might have satisfied her curiosity, which is the final gift from Rosal to Rai before he takes her life. Rai has none of it though. She yells out and says that there is no way that they will let those guys do anything to Ramo and Hyeonjong, even saying that they wouldn't even be able to lay a hand on them, and she asks for Mr. Kim's approval on this. Mr. Kim had regenerated during this conversation, and he was ready to take on Rosal. Mr. Kim says that if they even think about touching Hyeonjong and Ramo, he will chop each and every one of them up to pieces, just like how Rosal had chopped him up to pieces. Rosal gets ready for this, and he uses his card once again to try and slash up Mr. Kim. However, this time, Mr. Kim uses his forearm to block it. This shocks Rosal, and Mr. Kim tells him that they won't be playing card games anymore, and Mr. Kim starts loading up his wicked punch. Rosal notices this and uses several cards to create a barrier to observe the hit from it. However, the punch is so powerful that it absolutely shatters through the special card barrier and hits Rosal so hard in the chest that it sends him flying back into another vicinity altogether. After falling down, we can see the ridiculous amounts of damage it had done to Rosal, and he can't believe it how Mr. Kim can do so much damage with just one punch. However, his rest doesn't last forever, as Mr. Kim had located him, and he jumped in with a stomp kick of sorts to hit him. Rosal narrowly avoided the ultimate danger, and he quickly climbs up a building and says that it's not his fault that he lost. It's just that Mr. Kim's ability to regenerate is so incredible. This is when the wall starts melting and his arm gets caught up in all this thanks to Panda's special ability. Panda tells him that there are 2 options for him to win this, and one of them is not even winning. This is when Mr. Kim jumps up and hits a solid punch, which makes a huge explosion as well. After the explosion, we get to know that Rosal is still alive and he stands atop of a building. He says that he won't be ended so quickly, and he won't be ended by random NPCs like them either. As we see that he has lost one of his arms from the last bit of action, he brings out a card, the card of the Joker, and he says that this card has been working directly for God and that this card will change everything from now on. Rosal then throws the Joker card he had in his hand to the ground, and it gets stuck there. Panda says that the card didn't do anything. However, as they look above, they see that Rosal had magically disappeared from the scene. The crew then realizes that they had fallen for Rosal's trick. We then see Billy, Chairman Og's assistant, walk into a room which has Rosal, and he asks him what is up with him. Rosal said that he is just enjoying his time with 2 hot girls, as he is being treated by 2 attractive women. Billy says that he understands that much, as Rosal is known for doing stuff like this. However, what he wanted to ask was about his arm, as it is not there anymore. Rosal jokes and says that a wall had eaten up his arm. This confuses Billy, but Rosal then tells him about the so-called masked monster from the red light district. He says that the guy isn't a mercenary. Instead, he is a teacher to one of the students they had kidnapped. Billy asks Rosal if the monster had made his arm like this, to which Rosal once again says that it was a wall that had eaten up his arm. Rosal then goes on about how they shouldn't have even bothered messing with a guy like Mr. Kim, as he is beyond dangerous and not like any other human he has ever seen. Rosal says that the man is downright immortal and can't be finished off, as he regenerates himself no matter what. This puts Billy under a lot of pressure, as he realizes that his best man, Rosal, who had never lost a single fight, had just been defeated by that monster, and from Rosal's description, it seemed that he is probably the strongest person that the street has to offer, so now they need to worry. Billy then regains his self and tells Rosal that he has a lot of stuff to do, and because of that he needs to leave. However, he does inform Rosal that they need to have a serious talk about something later that night and leaves. Rosal wonders just what this serious talk is all about. That is when one of the girls he was playing with tells him if he wants to eat some cake. After seeing the cake, something comes to Rosal's mind and he immediately leaves the room and visits the room of Hyeonjong and Ramo with cake for them to eat. However, upon arriving there, he sees that the guards are taking away Hyeonjong by making her wear a mask to the face, while another guard is restraining an emotional Ramo, who is trying her best to stop them from doing so, as she is very much aware of the bad things they'll do with her. This is when one of the guards pushes Ramo, which makes her fall hard on the ground as the guard says that she should stay away from their business or they'll hurt her. We then see one of the guards carrying Hyeonjong with him, and he takes him from right in front of Rosal, who just stands there with his head down. Ramo quickly goes up to Rosal and begs him to save Hyeonjong as they plan on doing something bad to her. She cries and pleads to him to somehow bring her back, to somehow save her, as we see her breaking down to her knees. Rosal just stands there like a man who is ashamed of himself. Meanwhile, we see that Mr. Kim is dashing through the roads, destroying everything in his path as he goes forward. A car driver wonders just what the guy is doing, and this provides Panda with an opportunity to use the matter solidification technique to get the driver out of the car and steal the car for themselves to go after Mr. Kim. As Tansy, Rai and Panda aboard the car. Rai asks Panda just why Mr. Kim has been dashing through the roads, to which Panda says that it is because he is worried about his kids. He is worried that it is getting too late and that something might just happen to her. So he is trying to hurry up. Panda says that he has been like this ever since they first met and says that it is a miracle how he has managed to not lose full control throughout this whole time, as we see Mr. Kim, with half his mask broken, make a run for it as he calls out Hyeonjong. Then we see a flashback, where Mr. Kim and the professor are collecting medicine for Seoyeon, who has a cold, and as they talk and make their way back to the school, Mr. Kim is tripped by a younger Hyeonjong, who is wearing dirty clothes and is covered in dirt herself. However, she still has the sunshine smile on her face. As Mr. Kim asks her why she did that, Hyeonjong asks him for something. She says that getting scrap metal isn't bad, but she would prefer getting some food. Mr. Kim doesn't have food on him, but he tries to search his pouch for some money, but he is stopped by the principal, who tells him to not give her anything. This shocks Mr. Kim as he asks why the principal had stopped him. The principal explains that this is because a lot of the parents from the slums have been making their little kids beg for money and food instead of doing something. They know that people are sympathetic to kids. However, it still bothers the principal because he knows that even if such a young and innocent kid manages to get something, the ruthless people would steal it from her. Later we see that Hyeonjong had returned home to her father with empty hands, and so her father starts hitting her. The man brutally hits Hyeonjong and tells her that she is useless. He grabs her hair and bangs her head to the floor, saying that she should bow down like that to beg. This makes Hyeonjong bleed, but the man doesn't stop and punches her as well. He then says that if she doesn't bring her money again, he will sell her to the red light district. Bleeding but still smiling, Hyeonjong holds her father's feet and tells him that she loves him. However, the father doesn't value this and says that he will finish off both her and himself. As he tries to go out, he is intercepted by the principal and Mr. Kim. The principal grabs hold of Hyeonjong's father and calls him a ruthless freak for making her child do this, when he should be trying to provide her with a future instead. The principal then says that he will make him understand the consequences of his actions, and he will make him understand him by giving him some of his own medicine, as we see the principal hitting Hyeonjong's dad with a massive punch. We learn about Hyeonjong's condition, that children when they take birth cry because they want to show that they exist. However, as time passes, a child instinctively learns how to smile to get the love and affection from those around them. And that is what Hyeonjong learned, and she holds on to it, because she also craves for the love and affection of everyone around her.